Just want to let you guys know the old school hip hop session is definitely going to be a staple, of all of our sessions. We have you guys hostage. So we're going to make sure that we fill your brains with some golden age music so that you learn how to properly respect the greats. All right. And it start with you. All right. That's with everything. So I just had to say that. I know some of you guys are thinking that, like, who's that guy? But that's what we're going to do. And Mr. Barnett had a great idea that maybe unpacking some of these lyrics, is a town hall in and of itself, because a lot of it is timeless. And we can ask ourselves a lot of questions. Why is that? All right. So the topic of today's session is reflection. So we've done a lot over these last few weeks. So we're going to have today as an opportunity to kind of unpack a lot of the great discussions we've had, some of the great speakers we've had, and just how it relates to you. So one of the things I want to share, and, all of my fellow Eagle principals, and I'm sure principals across the city, the concept of an NX is something that's a mandate, but it's something that I want you guys to be very clear about. NXs are not cool. NXs are not cool. Just because you see an NX instead of a 55 doesn't mean you got over. An NX is still a 55. And in this current climate where we have, a pass, so to speak, where you're not hit with the dagger of a 55, you see an NX instead, that still counts as a 55. So one of the things that we're going to do in a future session, we're going to acknowledge those guys who refuse to accept the NX, who pushed forward, made the honor roll in their prospective schools, and we're going to have an opportunity sometime in December to celebrate and highlight those guys, because those are the guys that are really pushing themselves. This whole climate right now is very challenging for everyone. It's a new way of schooling as educators. It's new ways of teaching. It's a challenge. It's been hard. And just like we can't accept, using the current conditions as an excuse, you can't either. So even if your NX is a valid reason why you have your NX, just know it's not acceptable. Failure is never acceptable, and you're not going to get a pass in life. There's no NXs when you're 25 years old. Don't accept it then. Don't accept it now. And with, the readers exams being canceled in January, one of the things that's under strong consideration, and your principals and I are discussing this now, is using some of the interim exams in place of Regent scores. So we can take your report card average, combine that with your interim scores, and come up with a new eagle-eyed credit report, something that takes into account where you are right now. So over the next few weeks, you're going to be taking interim exams in all 4 of your core classes. These are not just throwaways. Just like you can't accept the NX, there's no NXs when you take your interims. What you see is what you get. So if you earn a 90 because you're taking care of business and really focusing in, you're going to see a 90. If you earn a 55 on these interims, you're going to see a 55. So parents, now that we're all remote, there's going to be certain windows of time, and we'll share that, as school leaders with you, where your son is going to be taking some really intense interim exams that are designed to measure his learning during a really difficult time in our country. Brinley? And as I mentioned before, we've done a lot in these last few weeks. And when Mr. Banks and I spoke in the summer about the power of this potential setup, we had no idea that it would grow to what it's become. Where this is almost the highlight of my week, an opportunity to really interact, with a bunch of scholars from all 5 boroughs, plus our brothers in Newark, but also other schools from across the city. This has become like a meeting ground, a thing to do every Friday at 9 o'clock. And that's the power of building a community during some very difficult times, but it's also the Eagle way. So I want you guys to have a sense of pride in what we've accomplished so far, but just know this is just the beginning. All right, so we've had some great speakers, and there's a real momentum that's been built based on who we've had with us over these past 6 weeks. Ringley? But today's setup is going to be different. Today's setup is going to be much different, fellas. What we're going to do, right, we're going to watch a series of clips. After every clip, there's going to be a poll question. Your ambassadors are going to discuss this, but also we want to hear your voice in the question and answer section. So every clip that we play, don't state the obvious. All right? Don't state the obvious. But before we play the clip, I want to give our ambassadors an opportunity just to introduce themselves, the school that they come from, their grade, and obviously their name. So let's just start. Let's just go around, fellas.
My name is Troy C. Williams II, class of 2025, and I attend Eagle Academy in South Queens.
My name is Ajanai Patterson. I'm from Eagle Brooklyn, and I'm a senior this year.
My name is Jordan Dodd. I'm from the class of 2025, and I currently attend Eagle Academy Freeman of Southeast Queens.
My name is Christopher Lee. I'm from Eagle Academy Newark. I'm part of the class of 2021.
My name is Tyron Simmons from Eagle Academy Queens, and I'm part of the class of 2023.
My name is Kenny Adios. My name is Kenny Adioso. I am from Eagle Staten Island, and I am a junior this year.
My name is Javon Russell. I'm from Eagle Bronx, and I'm a senior this year.
My name is Prince. I'm from Eagle Newark, and I'm a senior this year.
My name is Justice Combis. I'm a senior at Eagle Harlem, class of 2021.
Thank you, fellas. So we're going to start with, I watched a lot of football in my life. Like, I'm a football guy. It's a religion for me. That's my thing I do every Saturday and Sunday. I watch every game, even the terrible ones. And when I saw this play by DK Metcalf, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Like, literally, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And after I got over the sheer just greatness of his athletic play, the first thing I thought about was the work that we do at Eagle, right? And how there's so many things that can be discussed by just watching that play. So when you guys watch this clip, what I want you to do, right? Just don't look at the athletic feat, because it's phenomenal. This guy is 6'4", 240 pounds, and he chases down a guy almost half his size who's a blur himself. Like, it's a ridiculous play. But what I want you guys to look at, right? Think about where you are right now in your life and how this play, right? This athletic play applies to you, not as an athlete, but as an Eagle scholar. All right? So can we play that, Brinley?
Buda Baker out in front. Can Metcalf track him down? Can he chase him down? And he does to save a touchdown. But what a play by Baker, intended for Carson. Wilson lofted it. We hadn't mentioned Baker's name tonight on a defensive play. There he is.
Look at what happens. They're all right there. They come snap to the line of scrimmage to try and get it off quickly so that you got confused on the defensive side. Buda Baker did not. But watch the play here by DK Metcalf. He is flying down the field. Baker thinks he's going to walk into the end zone, and Metcalf just refused to let it go. It was unbelievable how much ground he made up. That had to be 10 yards on a very fast Buda Baker, and he just tracked him. It was just confusing, but watch Metcalf just flying down the field. And you know that Buda Baker could see him coming in the big screen. He's looking up at the screen and going, are you kidding me? What is this trailing me?
Can we launch that poll, Brinley? I can watch that clip all day long, fellas. I'll tell you that. It's phenomenal. But I want you guys to think about our Eagle pillars, right? What do you think best applies to not only the play that he made, but how it applies to you as young men? Can you share the results real quick, Brinley? Okay, ambassadors, what do you guys think? What's your interpretation?
I'll go first. For starters, this is definitely a great play, Mr. Mead, and I never seen it before. But when I look at this play, like I think of his leadership, right? Understanding that the play didn't manifest in the way he wanted it to, and instead of giving up on the play, he chased them down and tackled them. Understanding that if he did score that touchdown, it wouldn't just affect him, it would affect his entire team as well. So just taking the lead and chasing him down even when everyone else was back. That's what I saw when I kind of looked at this play. Great play.
I'm gonna have to somewhat disagree. I feel like it's more resilience. The time where like he was more like, in his darkest moments, in that dark moment where I know how it feels when somebody catch a pick. Now you about to see him about to run down for a touchdown. It's stuck like it's one of the worst feelings. But instead of just standing there and just feeling sad, he made that choice to go run down, make the tackle.
I gotta agree with you on that. It show a lot of resilience because at that moment in time, it kind of hurt the team so like to see another player go down there and get a touchdown. But he's saying, no, I'm making sure we come back stronger and we get that stop and we get back to what we do best.
Honestly, I feel like it's more commitment and resilience because like he's already almost like halfway down the field, I feel like. He could have easily just given up and just said, oh, you're just going to get the touchdown. But he kept on going. That's what really makes it about commitment and resilience.
I agree with Kehinde when he says that it really connected to commitment and resilience because I'm sure he saw the rest of his team all the way down at the end of the field, and he could have seen that he was moving a lot slower than the other guy, but he pushed forward and he moved a lot faster, and eventually he got there. He got to what he wanted to do. He accomplished his goal.
One more? Anyone? Got some, Prince?
Prince.
So I also agree with what Troy said. I feel like it's more of resilience because he could have chose to be down after losing the ball, but instead he chose to run after the opponent and chase him down. So that's more of resilience to me.
And I want you guys, whenever you see some of these clips, these athletic feats, try to always relate it back. And the pillars are a great way to kind of put greatness into context, right? And learn how to apply that to your life. Brendan, can we go back? So when we first started this series, we had our Brooklyn Borough president and now mayoral candidate, Eric Adams, on with us. And one of the more powerful clips I think, we were able to pull was when he discussed us passing the baton. So we're gonna watch this about 2-minute clip. And then after reviewing it, right, I want you guys to think about 2-3 things, right? Do I fully understand this and how it applies to my life? I get what he's saying, but I don't see how it connects to me. Or I really don't understand this concept and I need to hear it further explained. All right, so I want you guys to be honest because your honesty is gonna dictate how your ambassador brothers discuss this clip. Yeah, bring.
With you about the moment. I remember sitting inside a room where there were a group of elders there, and young people told the elders to move out of the way. You don't understand what we're going through, that you are just in the way of the movement that we're trying to participate in. And I stood up and walked to the front of the room and rolled up a piece of paper to let it look like a baton. And I dropped to one knee and I handed it to the elders who were in the room. That was 42 years ago, after Arthur Miller was killed from a chokehold. And I was 18 at the time. And I wanted to show respect to those elders who were there, because I know this. I was running and starting to run my mile of the relay race. Nat Turner ran his mile that allowed Harriet Tubman to run her mile. Harriet Tubman ran her mile to allow Marcus Garvey to run his. Marcus running it well, allowed Malcolm X to run his. Malcolm X ran his mile, handed the baton off for Reverend Sharpton to run his. Reverend Sharpton ran his that allowed Obama to run his, and Obama ran his mile that allowed Sister Harris to run her mile as the vice president. We're going to hand off a baton to all of you. And eventually, you're going to hand off a baton to another group of young people. And the same respect you show Obama and Harris and Sharpton is the respect young people are going to show you one day. But you cannot participate fully in this marathon race if you are in the stands being a detached spectators. You want to get involved.
All right, Brantley, so if you just pull up the poll. So what I want you guys to think about, right? So he had a great analogy there. Like how did you process that? Do you fully understand it and how it relates to you? You get it, but you struggle to know how it applies to you, or I really don't understand. I need to hear it explained another way. We need you guys to vote quickly because we want to kind of get to as many of the speakers as possible. How we looking, Bringley?
We're only at 40%. Come on, get those votes in quick. I'll close in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6,
Your parents
5.
vote too. These are not just scholar questions. These are questions for us as well as adults.
Mm.
Yeah, Bringley.
All right.
All right, ambassadors, what do you guys think about the results?
I fully understand what the majority of the votes are saying, because I believe that knowledge is the most valuable piece to be passed down. So the baton concept is just one of those saying that all this knowledge and all this experience is getting passed down so others can use it as a platform to further help the younger generation and so forth and so on.
I can understand what 42% of the people say. I understand why they say that, but we have to understand that passing the baton goes back to clear how we need to be leaders. That point comes to where we have to be leaders. We have to be able to take that step and be brave enough to take that step. Because I know a lot of us aren't ready to, but at a certain point, you have to become ready at the end of the day.
I would say I understand the concept, but in the way I was getting it, they mostly saying like passing the torch, like from one generation to another. Like the way he's saying the baton, I think it's more like a torch. As his legacy be lived on, that person would also follow up with his legacy and do basically with the guidance of him. He also doing his own thing and making sure the next generation follows the guidance of him and also do their own thing by passing the torch.
What about that 8% that, you know, they heard the analogy, but really struggle to see how it relates to them? What do you think, you know, those folks who voted that way were thinking?
So for them, you can think of it another way, right? You can think of it as presidents. Like one president will do something for the country, but then the next president will take that and make something better of it. So you see, I think with the Depression in 2008, I think that was detrimental to the country, right? But when Obama and Biden took that and they made it better and then they gave it to Trump, that's what the torch is talking about, mainly. You have to take what's here and you have to make it better. Or you can use,
right. Right, great analogy, right? But when I think about this, right, I think, and even to make it a little smaller, I think about just me, like the self-reflection that you're kind of going through. So many of you guys that don't understand this, just think about yourself and say, okay, am I doing this a way that I'll be happy years going forward? Am I exhibiting, you know, the skills that my parents have taught me? Am I doing a good job at representing them? Because at the same time, you know, you're not representing yourself, you're representing a bigger community. So if you do something a way similar to in our Eagle community, it's affecting all of us. So understand that if you put in your best, we're all gonna look good. You know, we're all gonna, you could pass that. Okay, the panelists wanted me to use like a sibling, right? So for example, like my older brother, right? He just graduated with his mechanical engineering degree. If he didn't do that, now I would maybe go on a different track because I don't understand, you know, the work that's put there. But because I'm seeing the work he's putting in, seeing the effort and commitment he has to himself as a younger sibling, now I see that and it's like, okay, I got to get there. He showed me his diploma and I'm like, I'm going to get that one day, you know, and that just motivates me. So continuing to motivate others behind you by continuously doing positive things. And that's kind of how I interpret this.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. But it's always come down to a point where in your reflection, you have to remember that it's still my race. And you can't really say, oh, I'm doing it because of this person or that person. You have to understand that I'm doing it for me at the end of the day, because I want to see myself succeed. And even though I feel the same way as not feel, oh, I want to do it for other people. I intentionally do it, everything I do, because I know there's people behind me. I can't really do it for me, because I know it'll be easier for me to quit. But at the end of the day, a lot of my mentors made me realize that I can't always do it for people behind me. I got to do it for me because it makes me happy. I got my happiness in front of everything. So remember, when you go to start this race and you have that reflection, remember that you have to put yourself first in certain situations. You can't really rely on that, oh, they passed the baton to me. And that's added pressure because it's already a lot of pressure as it is. You don't want to really add more pressure to that. Remember that I got this baton for a reason. I have it for a reason. People trusted me to have it. And now I have to just keep working and understand that these goals are going to help me. I've created goals that are going to help me further the baton to my success.
Okay, that's Troy. Yeah, Justice. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say I agree, but also kind of disagree. Like I get self-help, self-worth is the best. But at the same time, there's always gonna be somebody that's like looking at you or being motivated by you regardless. So it's like, and that's where like the acronym CLEAR, the leadership in CLEAR, because not only you're leading yourself, but you're also a leader in somebody else's eyes, whether you see it or not. Even independent or not, there's always going to be somebody who's going to look up to you in a certain way. Like, for example, siblings is a good example because no matter what you do in life, say, your little sibling will always look up to you in that way. And because of it, and it'll be a reflection, an image of how they see you as their blood. And so that's why I feel like, although I understand, it's better to look for yourself. And of course, that's 100%. But regardless if that's your intent or not, there's always going to be somebody looking at you in some certain way, good or bad. There's going to be somebody that's going to be either motivated by you or probably have a different opinion on you. So, and you can't really change that.
Appreciate that, Justice. Because remember, guys, we have a lot of middle school guys on right now looking at you guys, saying someday I want to be an ambassador, kind of speak, the way these guys are speaking. They're looking at you. So I definitely agree with that. Bringley, next. So our second speaker was Mr. Jamal Bowman, now Congressman Jamal Bowman. And he spoke about a number of things. And the reason why I pulled, this particular clip, because I wonder how much do you know about some of the things he was talking about? And what were some of your next steps when you heard terminologies that you weren't familiar with? All right, so we're going to play this clip now. Thanks, Bring.
We could start it off with, what is the biggest change you would like to make in your community if you were successfully elected into office on November 3rd?
We need reparations. We need reparations for Black people in this country, and we need reparations within Black and Brown communities. And what reparations look like to me is not just cash payments to people's pockets, but making sure people have access to housing, access to jobs, access to universal health care, access to entrepreneurial opportunities, fully funding our public schools, access to developing their own communities in their own image. I mean, when you look at places like Manhattan and Brooklyn and China and Chicago and different parts of this country, we've built magnificent cities and infrastructure, but we've never been able to do that in our own image as Black and Brown people because we've never been fully invested in and supported. And while other communities like the Japanese community, the Jewish community and others have gotten reparations, and rightly so, African Americans in our country have never received reparations. So we're fighting for reparations and more spending in our community so that we could build the infrastructures in our own image and become collectively determined as a community. That would show the country and the world that we're getting over and being serious about dealing with institutional racism, which is the second point I want to make. Institutional racism lives everywhere in our community. It's exhibited in police brutality, in mass incarceration, in miseducation, in economic inequality, in environmental justice, and so many other areas. So this is a chance for us to rebuild our nation in alignment with being a post-racist society. Racism will always be there, but it's on our government and our elected officials to push us forward to a place where we never have a Donald Trump again.
All right, Brinley, can you launch the poll, Brinley? So how are you processing that, fellas? You know, I fully understand when you talked about reparations, systemic racism, you know, and how it relates to me. I'm familiar with those terms, but I don't know how it applies to me, or I don't understand these concepts. I need to hear it explained another way. Another 10 seconds, Brinley. So what do you think, ambassadors? So 58% fully understand the terms and how it applies. Another 32% to the familiar, and 10% I don't really understand the concepts. What do you think, fellas?
Or just like reparations is amending the wrongs with basically money. To be honest, how I feel about reparations, a lot of people might disagree, but even though we're fighting for it, I don't believe we're the reason I think it is because just how everybody knows what happened after the Pearl Harbor, the Japanese bombed Hawaii. Japanese were put in concentration camps, and it was wrong. It was really wrong. And after they took them out of concentration camps, they gave them some money. And people use that as a comparison with slavery, but it's not really a strong comparison to slavery because one, the range of the years where slavery took place and where it ended was completely different. You can't really give money to people who didn't experience slavery, because the people who went through those concentration camps actually went through it and was still alive. So that's what makes it very difficult for having reparations. And then it just comes down to, who do we give reparations to? Do we give it to the African Americans, or do we give it to the Caribbean Americans that came now? Or do we just give it to anybody that's Black? It's kind of gets shady and kind of hazy with how we give out reparations, or how we give reparations to the people. Do we just say, oh, we're going to give it to every HBCU, which is really smart, but I don't really think that government will really support that, even though it's a really good idea, because you're supporting something that was started years before, when slaves were the ones that actually learned. So as far as getting reparations, I don't think that it's really, I think it's possible. It's very difficult. And it'll have to be a very strong movement, especially with the economy that the U.S. is in. I don't think that they're really going to be a big push to give reparations. I really want reparations.
Thank you for that, Troy. Sounds like this is a debate topic. Anybody else? Maybe one last person.
All right. I feel like to understand like why people would want reparations, you need to understand like what set the stage to get reparations, right? Because like way back, and I don't remember what time period this is, there used to be this stuff called redlining. And this is where like they would set certain like low income areas as like high risk or low financial risk. And basically that means that there's nothing to get out of there. And back then they used to push Black people into those areas. And when black people used to try and get loans and stuff, they couldn't get loans because they were black. So basically what this caused is that white people got better opportunities than black people that way. Like black people couldn't own their own homes. They couldn't live in high income, like very affluent areas. They couldn't do that type of stuff. So people want reparations to pay for that stuff. And honestly, just like Troy said, I don't think it's gonna work, because then you're just paying anybody who's black. You can't like go all the way back then and find who specifically was targeted by that, honestly. The only real way that you can do reparations is to better black neighborhoods, like give black people what they need. Maybe like community centers, all sorts of resources, and be able to like make amends for that. Give them what they couldn't get back then. That's how I feel.
So like I said, this sounds like a phenomenal debate topic. It's a hot button issue. Yeah, Mr. Banks.
You know, just real quick, first of all, I'm just loving this. I just sent a text to Jamal Bowman. I told him, you know, we're doing a deep dive on some of what you talked about. And so he wants to get a copy of this. He said he wants to take this conversation to Congress and let everybody hear and see what these young men from Eagle are talking about. And so just know, guys, right, there's a lot of eyes on what you all are talking about. So this is powerful. I would just encourage that every one of the schools to have real good conversation about this notion around reparations. Because I know most of my life, I always felt like there's no way that this government is not going to put out money, you know, for black people like that. That's why I felt most of my life. I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like when you bring pressure, you can make things happen. Because when Dr. Martin Luther King was here in the civil rights movement, there were so many people around him who said, you're wasting your time. It's never going to happen. This government is never going to do this, that, or the other. But people will respond. The struggle continues, and the government responds to pressure and movements. And so don't think that it can't happen. In fact, I would tell you, you guys have to be some of the leaders that can make it happen. What form reparations can happen in, whether that means giving money to people, giving money to institutions, giving money to small businesses that help, you know, support our communities. You just have to remember, black people in this country were here for 400 years, paid labor, unpaid labor. America became an economic superpower and the greatest country in the world because they had African slaves who built the country, who were not paid. And now, basically, we are the children of those people who did that. And reparations just means to say, you owe us, you owe our people. We did all this for 400 years for free. And so how it plays out is what we got to figure out. But where there's a will, there's a way. But make sure you maintain the will, because it can happen. It has happened before many times in this country. Just hasn't happened for us in the way that it needs to. But don't give up on the thought that it can't happen. It absolutely can happen.
I completely agree that there's a big chance that we can do reparations. I just feel like we're not going to get the money that we deserve. I feel like we're going to be cut short because of the time period. I feel like they're going to be cut short because of the economy. They're going to put a lot of factors in place. They're going to say, oh, we can't do this because of that. But it just comes down to how we fight. And I'm not always sure about how hard we can fight in this situation, again, especially if we get reparations and we put it into housing and funding in black neighborhoods. It's still that security concern. How do we know that somebody's not going to take over that money and build things not for the black community but for other communities?
Well, let me just say one final thing, Troy, is this, because this is a deep issue that's going to take real time. And I think you should all be discussing these in your schools, with your teachers, your principals, and absolutely expressing those opinions that you have. But only point I would just say to you is the people who will make this stuff happen are you, right? And that means you got to educate your brothers. That's what that passing the baton means. Don't look around and think somebody else is going to do it. You actually got to, that's why we're developing you guys as the leaders. You guys are going to graduate from Eagle, go to college, go off. You're going to become the leaders for this whole country and for our people. Like, we need you. If you guys don't do it, it won't happen. That's why you have to have Eagle clear. You have to have confidence in yourself, be resilient, and to know, don't give up. It may seem daunting, but don't think that it can't be done. It can be done because you're Eagle, and you can help to motivate and inspire a whole movement and this whole nation. You can do that. Don't think it's bigger than you. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You're young right now, but you're being developed to go out to help to lead our people. And that's what we're expecting from you guys. You can do it.
And fellas, like we said, this is the start of conversations. When we have these sessions, it's not, all right, I received this information, let me move on. You know, if you have questions about reparations, read up on it. You know, one of the books that I would encourage you guys to read is Powernomics by Dr. Claude Anderson. You know, take a look at that. He makes a very compelling, you know, argument for reparations, but also something that can be debated. But I think one of the speakers that we had on that, you know, garnered some of the most positive feedback, all of our people were phenomenal. But when we had Vice President Maurice Coleman on and some of the tangible economic next steps, which also relates almost directly to the concept of reparations and empowerment, you know, I think that was something that was extremely powerful and tangible. All right, so as you watch this clip, it's him kind of discussing that point, right? But as you reflect on it, he said a lot of things, right? Did you go and do your homework and study? Do you still have questions? I want your poll answers to kind of reflect this. And parents and adults that are on right now, please vote on this too, because a lot of us in this boat as well. Yeah, Brinley.
Tangible, asking concrete. The reason that I got into finance was because no one in my household could teach me any of this. Regardless of what you do in life, you're always going to be seen, as Mr. Mead mentioned, through the lens of credit. There are three things of credit you need to know. You need to know your credit capacity, you need to know your collateral, and you need to know your actual credit history in your score. What is your capacity? How much money do you earn and how much do you save? What is your collateral? Assets, stocks, bonds, art. This painting behind me is worth $20,000. This is a Ramar Bearden, an original. You have to start collecting assets. That's how you improve your net worth. Your network will help you improve your net worth. It's imperative that you understand how you compile your credit history, because that credit history is what people are going to look at. You know, as young people, we always say, and I hear you guys say, well, we're going to keep it 100. Well, I'm going to keep it 100 with you, but I don't ever want you to keep it 100 moving forward. I want you to keep it 700, preferably 704 or higher. So when somebody tells you they're going to keep it 100, tell them, no, 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 you can't buy anything with 100. You need to keep it 700. So from now on, I want you to understand that the minimum credit score that you need to have, and all you adults out there, your credit score is your adult report card. The minimum that you need to have is 700. You keep it 700 and you keep it 700 and higher. Because a good credit score is 650 to 750. Ideally 700 or better. An excellent credit score is 750 to 850. You do not want to allow yourself to get below a 680 credit score. That's when you fall into the fair category, and that's when things become much, much more expensive for you. To Mr. Mead's point, and the survey question, your credit score is calculated 35%, just like a test, 35% based on your payment history, 30% based on the amount you owe, 15% based on the length of credit, 10% based on new credit. Whenever you apply for a credit card, it impacts your credit score. And then the last is 10% based on the type of credit. So again, we're not keeping it 100 no more. We're keeping it 700.
Mead, you're muted.
There's a lot of information that VP Coleman shared there, but I want to know how you guys are processing it. A lot of the information sounds cool, but do you understand it and know how it applies to your life now and later? So think about that as you respond to the poll question. Wow, 74%. They get it right now. Okay. So fellas, we're only gonna take about maybe 2 or 3 responses. If we just whip around real quick, how are you guys interpreting this? Because, you guys haven't had the opportunity to amass credit yourself, but your brothers have indicated they understand this concept. All right, so where you guys stand with it?
I interpret it as like what Vice President Coleman said, nobody in his household really couldn't teach him credit, as well as nowadays I feel like there isn't people like him, especially people of color, who are teaching us finance like that. And if we're gonna go back to passing the torch, I think that's a good opportunity for us to kind of like pass the torch and teach others about finance and credit once we get to that point. And with that, keep it 700, because I feel like everybody could keep it 100. It's just the fact that if everybody can keep it 700, if that makes sense. So like we can always keep it 100 with people and be real, but it's just a matter of keeping it 700 in terms of financial wise. So that's my like how I interpret the video.
Well said, Justice. Sorry. I think, in my opinion, this message that he kind of gave us was like one of the most powerful ones there is on this so far. And I say this because financial knowledge, is one of the things that our Black community lack the most. Too many times within my own community, I see that we value the materialistic things that we don't need credit to buy, and understanding these concepts would allow us going forward to purchase even bigger things, houses, just bigger and better things, property, and just all that good stuff, So I felt like this was a very powerful message and a very powerful concept for us all to understand.
Now, I appreciate
add on to Ajnai, I think that this was a really powerful topic because financial literacy is something we're usually not taught in school. And I feel like that kind of adds on to the fact that Black people in history, we haven't had generational wealth, which is something that I feel like is something that we need to start, helping the next generations get in the future. Because the fact that we were denied land, as Kehinde said earlier, we were denied the right to own land in the past, that kind of fell down onto the future generations like us, and not having credit scores and not having generational wealth. It was just that, that's part of why stuff like this is happening to us now.
Okay, one more. Real quick.
So like for me.
Okay, Prince. Close out, Prince.
Okay. So like for me personally, how I feel this relates to me, like even though I don't have much money and everything like that, I feel like how I would be able to keep it 700 basically involves me saving a part of my income or money that I have and like investing it in the future. So let's say if I get $20 every week, I could be able to save like $2, $3 that like I won't touch. So like I would basically use this money for my financial security. So in case everything doesn't work out as I planned, I would be able to have something that would be able to keep me in terms of difficulty. And also how this relates to my studies and everything. So this helps me to like not be satisfied with not be satisfied with a grade in like, let's say a D grade. Like let's say, like how sometimes people get satisfied when they have D's in class. So like this means that like you shouldn't be satisfied when you have low grades. Even though you may be able to pass some classes with the lowest grades, you should be aiming for like the B's and A's, so that like you would be so that your name would also be mentioned when people are being celebrated. So that basically involves always trying to bring out the best that you have,
Appreciate that, Prince.
Well said, Prince. Well said.
This is practice, right? So while you can't really amass real credit history, you can amass credits in your classes. And the value of those credits are contingent upon what you get in those classes. So NXs won't cut it. And then NXs are a bad mark on your credit report. So if you just go back to the PowerPoint real quick. So guys, we weren't able to get through all the speakers. We're gonna kind of cycle back to this at some point. I just want to share with you guys, we did have a number of other people queued up, but the discussions were so rich. Tamika Mallory talked about individualism. We'll cycle back to this at some point. Reverend Floyd talked about the concept of power. We'll get back to this at some point as well. And also the stigma of mental health, right? We're going to get back to this some point and have an equally rich discussion. All right, so with that, I'm gonna pass it over to Mr. Barnett, who's gonna close us out today.
All right. Thank you, Principal Meade. Fantastic conversation amongst the young men. So proud of the way you are thinking as true leaders, the leaders we need in our community. Those that are listening and even the ambassadors, remember, during this time, we need you to stay clear, be eagle clear, right? Those confident leaders that give 100% effort towards your academics, and overall, you are staying resilient. And this poem that you see here, Invictus, is something that we recite every single day so that we can reinforce that quality of resilience. You're gonna get knocked down, but you have to get back up. And I know we recite this every day, gentlemen, but we are living in times right now where we are literally living the words of Invictus. And so I know that you say this daily in your town halls, and we decided that we needed to implement this into our weekly town halls. And again, remember, young brothers, I'll give you some advice. Be careful of the company that you keep, because the company that you keep will impact your thoughts. Your thoughts will impact your words, and your words will impact your actions. So these words, when you say them, please say them with conviction. Please say them with belief, because they will certainly get you through those difficult times, as it has done for so many of your Eagle brothers that have come before you. All right, so Eagle ambassadors, are we ready?
Sure.
All right, brothers, Invictus straight.
I the night that covers me, like the bit from pole to pole. I thank the God made me for my compost soul.
In the fell close of circumstance, I wish I cried aloud. Under the bloody chin, my head bloody, but I bow.
Beyond this place of wrath and tears, looms but the horror of the shade. Yet the minutes of the years finally shall find me unafraid.
It matters not how straight I get, how shabby punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Captain of my soul.
I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
I'm the master of my fate. I'm the captain of my soul.
Yes.
I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Yes.
That's my fate, after my soul.
Keep it coming. That's what I'm saying. We are the masters of our fate, the captains of our soul. So again, brothers, I know that we are not in the schools. I know that you are home, but please make sure that you say these words daily, because as I said, the words that you say will impact your actions, and at the end will impact your overall performance and what it is that you all are seeking to accomplish in this world. Have a fantastic weekend, brothers. We're looking forward to seeing you next Friday. Eagle up, Eagle proud.